Good afternoon. I'm Eun-Soo Kim from Sungkyunkwan University in South Korea. Today, I'm delighted to present our work, Open Sesame, on the security and memorability of our passwords. This work was conducted in collaboration with ETRI in South Korea and the University of Tennessee in the United States. Today, passwords are still the main way we authenticate. But depending on the context, typing passwords can be impractical. For example, devices like VR headsets or smart home interfaces make text entry awkward or difficult. So new options came up, such as graphical, gesture, and verbal passwords. Unfortunately, graphical and gesture passwords require screens and sensors, which makes them difficult to use in certain settings. That's where verbal passwords stand out. Verbal passwords are easy to say and simple to use. Verbal passwords are already popular in financial and smart home security systems. Here is a quick demo showing how a verbal password can be used in a mobile banking apps. For authentication, a user can simply speak their password.
Please let me in.
When the password is valid, the system completes the transaction. However, are verbal passwords actually secure and memorable? To answer this question, we conducted a large-scale user study with over 2,000 participants. In this study, participants create their verbal passwords and practice them. Afterwards, they need to solve a puzzle and answer survey questions. As a final task, they need to recall their verbal passwords to complete a bank transaction. For midterm and long-term recall tests, they need to come back after 2 and 9 days and complete the same bank transaction task. The recall test results were promising. About 64% of participants recalled their passwords after 2 days, and 52% still managed to remember after 9 days. For those who failed, it was mostly because they simply forgot their password or remembered only part of it. But what about security? Are verbal passwords strong enough against guessing attacks? To test this, we trained 2 password guessing models using GPT-2 and Llama 3 and called them Passphrase GPT and Passphrase Llama. The models were trained using over 25 million phrases compiled from public sources like Wikipedia and movie reviews. With each model, we generated up to 1 billion guesses. The attack result was quite unfortunate, as nearly 40% were cracked by Passphrase GPT and 30% by Passphrase Llama. Surprisingly, about 40% of these cracked passwords were correctly recorded ones. Also, most of them were very short, consisting of less than 3 words. To better understand password choices, we examined their structure. Numeric sequences like 1, 2, 3 were frequently used. Some resemble full sentences like I love my, reflecting patterns of natural speech. When we sort the passwords by entropy in ascending order, we can see that some choose short and simple words like puppy or banana. Complex passwords, like these at the bottom, show that some participants did aim for stronger combinations. As expected, the simple passwords were all compromised, and the complex ones withstood the attack. And this clearly shows that verbal passwords are weak when chosen without restrictions. So, how can we make verbal passwords more secure? What if we prevented people from selecting verbal passwords that are insecure in a similar way we do for text passwords? For example, we can apply block list filtering or word count requirement in a similar manner. In our first study, we found that the verbal passwords with 4 words struck the best balance between security and memorability. With that in mind, we designed password creation policies and evaluated their impact on verbal passwords. In our second study, we introduced 2 policies for verbal passwords. First, VPL, which limits verbal passwords to be at least 4 words. Second, VPLB, which adds block list filtering to VPL policy. For comparison, we also assigned participants to a text password policy based on guidelines from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. For security evaluation, we ran the same guessing attacks on passwords from each policy. And the results were clear. The VPLB policy had the lowest guess rate at just 7.5%, outperforming the rest. However, the differences in guess rates were not statistically significant. Here are some example passwords created during the second study. As you can see, verbal passwords are generally longer and readable phrases than text passwords. Even with password policies, some passwords in each group still showed weak patterns. What about memorability? Do policies affect password recall? Well, as you can see, verbal passwords were recalled significantly better than text passwords, both in midterm and long-term recall tests. Taken together, with the right guidance, verbal passwords are more memorable and secure than text passwords. At the end of the study, we asked participants where they would want to use verbal passwords. Many said that they would use them for casual and frequently used accounts, like social media or shopping. However, some people expressed their concerns on being overheard or having their voices recorded and misused. Summing up, we found that verbal passwords are not secure without password policies, but after applying simple password policies, such as minimum word count and block list filtering, they become much stronger while staying memorable. So we can conclude that verbal passwords can be a practical alternative to text passwords. That's all for my work, and thank you for listening. Please feel free to try out our passphrase GPT, which is available on Hugging Face. If you have any questions, you can reach me at the email address shown here.